I love any excuse to make a new dress for a special occasion, so in today's video, I'm going to be sewing a dress for Thanksgiving. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video where I am going to be showing you my process for sewing a dress for Thanksgiving. Now in bringing this dress to life, I have actually created and drafted my own pattern for this dress. This pattern was one of the first personal pattern projects that I created and drafted for myself and for my size in my pattern making class. And I actually filmed the whole process for that pattern creation in episode 6 of my vlog series for my pattern making class, and right behind me is a sneak peek of one of the prototypes from that video and one of the prototypes for the dress that I'm making today. So I love any excuse and any occasion to make a new dress, and the holiday season is the perfect time to make a dress for the theme and for the season. Now if you watched my fall sewing plans video, I hinted at and talked about wanting to make a flannel wrap dress for the fall, and that is what we are making in today's video. I am going to be making a flannel wrap dress to wear for Thanksgiving. Now I haven't decided if I'm going to actually wear it on Thanksgiving Day. I have like multiple Thanksgiving events during the Thanksgiving week, so it's going to be worn to one of those to perfectly fit the theme and the festive nature of Thanksgiving. I've been working for a couple of weeks on drafting out the perfect fitted bodice wrap dress with multiple different style elements and variations to choose from. And in today's video, I'm going to finally be bringing that pattern to life and the vision that I have been creating it for, making a flannel wrap dress. This wrap dress features a fitted bodice which has darts to perfectly fit to your figure. It has puff sleeves with ruffles on the ends. The neckline has many different options. It can be a regular wrap neckline, have a smaller collar like you see back here, but for my dress that I'm making in today's video, I really wanted to play with this idea of ruffles, so I'm actually going to be adding ruffles around the entire neckline. So you'll see what I mean by that when I actually start sewing. The skirt for this dress is really interesting because the back is gathered at the waistline and then it kind of flounces out into a flare, and then the front there actually aren't gathered, so it kind of fits more snugly and really drapes to your figure, which is what I wanted the wrap dress to have, because I feel like wrap dresses are just really classic shapes, but they're also so flattering, I really feel like, on everyone. So I designed this dress to have different aspects that would flatter different elements of the body, and I designed the bodice to be more fitted to kind of contrast with the gathers in the back waist and then the drapes in the front. And for this dress, I'm going to be using this fun flannel fabric that I got from Joanns fabrics. This is a flannel plaid checkered-ish fabric from their Bauer line. Now I wanted to use a flannel fabric for this dress. There's obviously many different kinds of flannel fabrics, some that drape a little bit more. This one is your really typical traditional flannel. It has a decent soft drape, but then it also has some body and structure to it, and I wanted a print that wasn't just your stereotypical plaid flannel print. I wanted something that was more exciting, fit my personality color-wise, but then also still fit the color for the season. So I thought that this kind of checkered color was really fun because it kind of pulled in a lot of the rust and orange colors of fall, which I love. And then the pops of blue I just thought were really fun and vibrant, and I've been getting more into blue recently, so I thought that this would just be the perfect kind of fall flannel. I got 4 yards of this, and I'm actually hoping that I have enough fabric of this for the pattern pieces that I have drafted. The way that I drafted the skirt uses much more fabric than I was anticipating. So as I go through this process of this video, there is a chance that I'm going to have to make adaptations to my pattern along the way and figure some things out. But you all know the drill in all of my videos. I usually show you my fails and my problem solving, because I think that is truly the whole part of sewing, is figuring things out along the way, even if you're making mistakes and even if you have to go back to the drawing board. So without further ado, let's dive into this sewing project, making a flannel wrap dress for fall using my personal self-drafted pattern. Now it's quite a dreary day out today, so the lighting in my studio is not all the best for filming. However, what it is perfect weather for is using my projector to cut out my sewing patterns. So if you have watched my behind the scenes vlogs for my pattern making class, you have seen my projector in action and seen me cutting out patterns from a projection. And this is honestly my new way of cutting out sewing patterns because it cuts down on using a lot of paper and the time it takes to assemble all of the pattern pieces. I can just project them straight onto my fabric and cut them out. I would definitely say there's a little bit of a learning curve with learning how to use the projector and figuring out the sizing of the pattern pieces and having your tabletop be large enough for them. But so far, after getting my projector set up and figuring out how to use it, it has been super helpful, and I personally feel like it's cut down on my sewing time. So all of the tests I've been doing for this wrap dress pattern have all been projected. So in today's video, you will see me project my new updated pattern pieces. I think this is like the 4th iteration of my pattern pieces because I've just been making so many tweaks to the fit and the shape along the way, but I'm going to be projecting them today. And since it is dreary and dark outside, it's a very rainy day. It's also late in the afternoon, so the sun is starting to set thanks to daylight savings. I can actually perfectly project my pattern pieces because the sun is not going to mess up the light from the projector. So let's turn it on and get started.
So because this evening or late afternoon was so dreary and overcast, it really was the perfect lighting for projecting my pattern onto my flannel fabric. An important part of projecting is to make sure that my fabric is flat and ironed so that there are no bumps that distort the lines of the pattern pieces. And as you can see, the darker lighting actually helps the pattern pieces to show up much better on the fabric. I have my seam allowance built in, so all I'm doing is just cutting around all of my edges and transferring any pattern markings that are on the patterns. I really have loved learning how to project my pattern pieces. This has been super helpful as I learn how to make my own patterns and format patterns for projection, but I've also projected a number of different patterns from pattern designers, and it really has made the cutting process so much quicker and easier.
Alright, I have gotten all of my pieces cut out for my wrap dress pattern. I did that last night. So all of the pieces are cut out, and today I'm going to start constructing and sewing them all together. Alright, these are all of the pattern pieces. It's almost hard to see all of them because there's just so much color and checkered going on, but they are so fun and vibrant. They are all cut out and ready to be sewn. Now, one adjustment I had to make to my pattern pieces, given that I was only working with 4 yards of fabric, I had enough fabric to cut everything out. The only issue is that my back skirt panel was originally meant to be cut on the fold, but I needed to use that fold to cut out one of my sleeves, so I opted to cut my back skirt pattern piece off the fold in order to utilize the fold for another pattern piece that I really needed the fold for. So my back skirt panel is actually going to have a seam down the middle, but considering that this pattern is so busy and the fact that my back panel is going to be gathered, I don't think that it's going to matter too much that you're going to have a seam down the back.
The first step in sewing this dress is to sew the front and back darts on the bodice. I already transferred my dart legs from my pattern pieces onto my fabric, so I am just folding my fabric right sides together and pinning along those dart legs. Now that all of the darts on my bodice pieces are pinned, I'm going to sew them from widest end to the narrowest tip. Now, something I realize I hardly ever talk about in my videos is what sewing machine I use, and I'm using a Janome 3160QDC. It is a computerized Janome. I've had this since 2021 and I absolutely love this sewing machine. Before this, I had a different Janome that wasn't computerized, so Janome is definitely one of my favorite brands, and I know that I can always rely on them. Once my darts were sewn, I gave them a good press, and now it's time to pin and sew my wrap ties. I already sewed these together and flipped them right side out and gave the ties a good press, so I am just pinning those into the center of those side edges of my wrap bodice pieces. Then I'm going to sew them down and they are going to flip in, but before I flip them in, I'm going to finish those raw edges, and then I'm also going to top stitch those edges down and into place. After my ties are sewn into place, I'm now going to place my front and back bodice pieces right sides together, matching up the top shoulders and matching up the side seams. I'm going to pin those into place and then sew them together. And after I've sewn those side and shoulder seams, I'm going to finish those raw edges on my serger. And since I previously was talking about my sewing machine, if you're curious as to what my serger is, it's an Evolve. My grandmother gave this to me because she doesn't use it anymore. It's a number of years old, but it is a fabulous serger. Now that my bodice pieces are sewn together, I'm going to start working on the ruffle for this neckline. I cut 4 long strips of fabric. I sewed those together to make a really long strip of fabric, and then I folded it in half lengthwise and sewed 2 rows of basting stitches. I'm going to pull those basting stitches to create a ruffle and keep gathering that ruffle until it fits around the entire neckline. Then I'm going to pin that ruffle into place around the neckline along with some bias tape. This bias tape is then going to be flipped over to encase and cover the raw edges of those ruffle and neck seams. Now that the ruffle and bias tape has been sewn around my neck, I flipped the bias tape to the inside, gave it a good press, and then I pinned along the right side of my fabric. I'm now going to top stitch around my neckline onto the edge of my ruffle to sew the ruffle and bias tape into place. And now this is what the ruffles and the bias tape around the neckline look like with my top stitching.
Good morning, everyone. It is day 3 of working on my flannel wrap dress. Still very dreary outside. We really haven't had a ton of sunshine the past couple days. It's been rainy, and this morning it actually started snowing, and there's still a ton of flurries outside, so I am all cozied up in my wool sweater and a hat. I've got the heater going in the cabin today, and I decided that I needed a little bit of pumpkin in my life. So I lit one of my favorite fall pumpkin candles from the brand Cashmere Luxe. She makes literally the most luxurious candles, so if you want to check her out, I'll link it down below. I just thought that would be fun to add a coziness to today. I'm hoping to finish my dress today. The majority of the main part of the bodice is done, so today I'm going to work on my sleeves, attach those to my bodice, and then start working on my skirt. So the rest that is left for this dress is really, I think, the easy part. I think I already did all of the most challenging, kind of tedious parts of this dress, so we're going to see how this dress continues to go.
Also, fun fact about me, I am the biggest Hallmark Christmas movie fan, and every year in November and December I pay for a subscription so that I can actually watch Hallmark Channel movies because we don't have TV or cable. So you can definitely find me binging every single Hallmark Christmas movie for the next couple of months while I am sewing and working on any projects in my studio. Which is exactly what I was doing while working on this dress and having my fun fall candle burning. My next step in creating this dress is working on my sleeves. These sleeves are created to have a little ruffle on the edge, so here I am sewing that ruffle piece onto the bottom edge of the sleeve. That seam allowance is then going to be folded up and turned into a casing for my elastic. After folding that seam allowance up along the inside of my fabric, I top stitch along the right side to create the channel for my elastic. Now that my sleeve ruffle is hemmed and my elastic channel is sewn into place, I'm just going to feed the elastic through the channel with a safety pin to reach my desired scrunch. Then I'm going to sew the underseam of the sleeve together, finish that raw edge, and now my sleeve is ready to be inserted into my sleeve hole and armhole. Now that my sleeves are sewn into place, my bodice is done, so I'm going to set this aside and start working on my skirt. The first step in my skirt is to fold in and hem the front edges of my wrap skirt. Since these edges are folded over and wrapped to create the skirt of this dress, they're not actually sewn together, so I have to first hem those edges. Then I'm going to work on placing and sewing my pockets into place. I usually like to place my pockets about 5 inches down from the top of my skirt. Now that my pocket pieces are sewn and pressed open, I am going to place my front and back skirt pieces right sides together, matching up the side seams and the pockets. After the side seams of my skirt are sewn, I sewed 2 rows of basting stitches just along the top section of my back skirt. This back skirt is going to be gathered and then pinned and placed along the back edge of my bodice. So now I'm simply pinning my bodice and my skirt together, right sides together, matching up the gathered skirt section for the back and the ungathered front panels of the skirt to the bottom edge of the front bodice. After I attached my skirt to my bodice and pressed that seam, I decided to top stitch along the right side of my fabric to really hold that skirt into place and tie in the top stitching along the neckline. And this is what it looks like once the skirt is attached to the bodice and top stitched. My last step is to hem the bottom of this skirt. I wanted to do something a little bit different in this video and add in kind of some clips of life and fall and pumpkins and clips from just nature. We are definitely in the end of fall here at the farm. Everything looks very dreary and dead, but we are getting some snow and I'm just waiting for everything to be covered in a powdery white. It is definitely cozy season when it comes to fashion and the perfect type of weather for a cozy and soft flannel wrap dress. So let's go put that on.
Alright, well I finished sewing my flannel wrap dress yesterday. Just got done with all my farm chores this morning, feeding the chickens and the ducks and the sheep. So now I'm going to actually get ready, put myself together for the day, and show you the reveal of the flannel wrap dress I made for Thanksgiving. I was originally planning to film the reveal for this dress outside, but it snowed yesterday and last night, and even though the snow is melting, it's super windy outside today, so we might have to do this reveal and videography inside in a little bit more of a cozy location because it just gets really challenging to film outside when it's really cold. But irregardless, I hope that you all enjoy seeing how this dress turned out.
And with the fire stoked from the coziness of indoors, here is my Thanksgiving/fall flannel wrap dress. I definitely love how the finished dress turned out. It is living up to the vision that I had in my head of what I wanted a flannel wrap dress to be. I love the print and the colors of this flannel fabric. It's just so fun and vibrant while still tying into all of those warm hues of fall. It's so soft and cozy, and I'm so glad that I decided to add pockets and the ruffle details to the neckline. It's been so fun working on this pattern and seeing this project come to life, and I hope that you enjoyed watching the process of me creating this dress and watching this cozy fall video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and drop a comment below and tell me your favorite part about fall and what you're thankful for this year. I'll see you in the next video.